The verdict is in.
Guilty!
Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is Clara.
And this is Denise, and today we're going to be doing a conclusion video of the Letecia trial while we do a get ready with us video.
Let's do this.
In our last Letecia video, which by the way, check it out if you haven't, we mentioned that we were going to bring more of Letecia's lies, and here they are.
In the Letecia Stauch trial, there was a witness who went up to testify. Her name is Dr. Lewis, and she was actually an expert from the defense. She actually testified that Letecia had possibly had like brain damage, and that's why it kind of explained why she had done what she did.
Yeah, well, actually, I think I have heard that Letecia had told her that a bookcase had fallen on her and at work. I've heard that from the Ted Bundy trial, from the Richard Ramirez. They've all had head injuries as kids, so they kind of blame some of their behavior on that.
I actually was kind of surprised with that doctor's testimony because she seemed to really believe Letecia and her lies about her personality disorder and everything. And so she actually did believe that Letecia was psychotic when she killed Gannon.
She didn't find that Letecia had a dissociative identity disorder, but she did think that she was psychotic during the murder and that she didn't know right from wrong. So I feel like she was the only witness who really thought that. So no wonder the defense called her their expert witness.
Mm-hmm. I mean, of course. And I wonder if that was kind of hard to do, to find someone who actually believed Letecia, because I mean, they say that DID is like a super rare disorder.
Right. And most people with DID don't murder or hurt other people. That's like kind of like the general thing about it. They usually hurt themselves. With Letecia, she didn't say that she had DID until after they caught her, right?
Yes. So I think it was one of those things where she kind of made it up because she was like, okay, what do I come up with to explain why I did this so I don't have to go to jail?
She did say that she had it when she was a teenager. So if you had it when you're a teenager, I think your parents would notice or your family and friends would notice. So this would be something that hopefully had been treated from before.
It was one of those things that when people went up to testify, no one had really known about her having that history. No one ever noticed, or she never told them. So then obviously it just looked like it was all lies. When Dr. Lewis was testifying, she actually mentioned that Letecia actually should have gotten a MRI or a EGG so that they would have been able to tell that she had brain damage because of like the bookcase accident.
That would have really benefited the defense if she had done those tests and they would have been found that she had brain damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the defense actually told Dr. Lewis that the court wouldn't pay for these tests, so she didn't perform them before her testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And then later the prosecution calls them out and says, yeah, the court would have paid for them. So all that seems really sketchy.
Maybe she should have paid for it herself or something, because if she really wanted, like,
she's like, I'm not putting money out of my pocket to defend this lady.
Wasn't there kind of like comments where people were thinking that Dr. Lewis was just in it for the money? That's what she was like, an expert witness for the defense.
Wait, so who is paying her? The defense?
The defense.
She's under their payroll, y'all. That would make sense because Dr. Lewis had notes that she had taken when she was evaluating Letecia, but she was supposed to write a report, or I think that's usually what they do after. They take their notes, they go back to their office or wherever, their house, they write a report from their notes and their findings. She gave all her notes to the defense and the defense wrote the report and she just signed it off. That's hella sketchy.
In the interview, that is when Letecia actually mentioned that there was like this lady, Maria, and they said that Dr. Lewis said that Maria was like violent and like aggressive. And so, and that's where it came out that Maria might have been the person who killed Gannon.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And Maria's the one who chucked the monster can at the officer, right?
Yes. So we mentioned that in our previous video that Letecia had actually thrown a monster can at an officer, which seemed like she kind of wanted to escape by doing that. So you guys can watch our video. In our other video, we talk about the trial as well, and we mentioned that situation.
So someone on YouTube had mentioned, so then if Maria is the one who killed Gannon, was Maria the one who did the cleanup, who did all the covering, who did the interview? Was it Maria who did all this? From what I've heard about DID, the personalities don't really remember the other personalities.
Letecia had mentioned also that she was able to switch personalities on the spot. And that was in her long interview with Dr. Lewis. It was like I think it was a 14-hour interview.
Oh.
And so they played that during the trial.
Dr. Lewis just seemed disorganized all around.
When Dr. Lewis was being questioned by the prosecution, she seemed like she never wanted to admit that Letecia did not have DID, and so everything kind of seemed like she was giving the runaround and never admitted that there was no signs of DID because she just didn't want to admit that she could possibly just not have that.
It seems like most people that were evaluating Letecia, they all kind of had the same conclusion that Letecia didn't have DID.
Another witness that testified was Dr. Mohr, and this witness actually had evaluated Letecia, and the defense had questioned her, and they were grilling her about the fact that Dr. Mohr had only evaluated Letecia for like 5 to 30 minutes at a time, and so they didn't think that that was long enough to actually make a decision that she did not have DID.
Which I guess it kind of makes sense, right? If you're evaluating someone for that long, how do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I feel like you would need to meet with someone longer to actually know their whole life history, right? And everything that they've been through their entire life. And so another thing that was actually mentioned was the fact that their meetings were not in person due to COVID. They were more like through the slit of the door at the jail.
Right, and if the slit of the door is basically actually the size of this, a little bigger than this. It's like where they serve you the food.
Yeah, you're right. You can't really see someone's body language if you're looking at them through like a little hole. Another thing that was brought up was that Dr. Mohr had actually had a patient in her previous history with her cases where the person had unalived themselves.
So they were basically trying to make it seem like, well, you were her doctor. You obviously don't know what you're doing if this person unalived themselves when they were actually going through something. It's actually pretty harsh. I mean, I'm sure the jury was like,
oh. I think that's pretty harsh because, like, I mean, I'm sure this doctor went through some trauma with that, right? Because that was her patient.
She probably felt like she failed that patient.
I would think so. And as much as the defense wants to grill these doctors and everything, I thought that was kind of harsh.
Another doctor that testified was forensic psychologist Dr. Grimmett, and she's the one who had said that Letecia told her that she can talk to vampires.
What is wrong with this lady? Watching too many movies.
No, I think it's like how Dr. Grimmett had said that it sounds more like a fabrication. She doesn't really believe it.
I mean, it makes sense. I feel like she's been making up. I mean, how many lies are we at now?
I lost count.
Me too. Is her name even Letecia? Maybe she made that up too.
I had told Dr. Grimmett about these vampires, right? And she actually started naming them. And they had the names of some of the characters from Twilight. Now she's bringing Twilight into the story.
So now I bet you if you Google her name, Twilight might come out or something.
It was Dr. Grimmett who actually came up with the conclusion that Letecia didn't have DID or is psychotic, but more that she has borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. Which makes sense because the narcissistic part, I mean, it's all about her. Even when Gannon was missing, she's asking Al if they're going to stay together. Woman.
I know that a lot of doctors testified that they just thought that she had generalized anxiety disorder.
Anxiety was part of it. So as far as the narcissistic personality disorder, she was saying that Letecia kept asking about how she would be treated in jail. She was more worried about how her attorneys were going to treat her. If you're being accused of killing a child, you think they're going to treat you like a princess?
Talking about like making sure that Al is with her, and throughout them finding Gannon, all this time she had been just trying to make sure that they stayed together throughout this whole process.
Do you really think that the father of the child that she murdered is gonna stay with her? I'm surprised she didn't try to testify. I mean, usually people with these narcissistic disorders, they really think they're smarter than everybody. I mean, she really did try to prove that she was smarter than everybody, but I'm surprised she didn't go and take the stand.
According to Al Stauch, Gannon's dad, he had mentioned that she was pretty smart when they met. That he thought that she was actually a really smart person. Which is crazy because now she just looks crazy. With all these lies that she made up, she don't look like she was ever smart.
Or she just learns facts, and then that's what she was telling Al. She was researching all these other cases before to make her lies look credible. Like, did you hear the one about the pregnant woman? And it ended up being like an actual case. She said that she was somehow involved in the story because the pregnant woman pulled a gun on her.
I did hear that. That, like, this lady had pulled a gun on her and, like, she was trying to have her launder money at a Mexican restaurant or something like that, right?
Was trying to have Letecia launder money?
Yes.
What money? She's broke.
She didn't care about all these lies that she made up. She just was like, let me just Google the next thing that I could make up.
She's Googling articles that kind of seem like maybe what I'm saying could be credible if I involve myself in this story. Like, she's real fast with Google. She was Googling all this stuff, so...
Did you see that she was Googling all these statements and not questions?
What do you mean?
Like statements like, I hate my stepson.
She wasn't asking Google?
No,
she was just typing stuff?
Yeah, she was just typing things.
What?
She's got real issues. There was tons of Google searches that she made that were just statements. What was Google gonna do? I mean, she probably said it to Siri and Siri didn't reply.
Siri was like, woman, you are crazy. Kind of brings it back to how she Googled Quincy Brown, which was a real life person, but obviously she involved Quincy Brown in her lie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Quincy Brown was either in a different country or somewhere far away where it wouldn't make sense. Obviously, she Googled it and she was like, if this person is a criminal, there's a possibility they could have done something to me. So let me throw that story out there and see if anybody takes a bite.
The lies that she has been making up are ridiculous. So she was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And then
for 2 counts, right?
Yes, for 2 counts of murder. And then she also got 12 years with 3 years for tampering with the deceased body. And then she also got 18 months for tampering with physical evidence. I mean, she's just never getting out. And so I have to say this, Clara, like, don't you think that it's crazy how we sentence people for more than one lifetime?
Right.
Like, I've never understood that.
I don't understand it either. For those that do, comment down below and let us know, because
yes,
I've always thought about that too. So if you're sentencing someone for 2 lives,
we only have 1 life.
Right.
I literally think
that means like, girl, you're never getting out. Like
if in this lifetime you can't get out, in the other lifetime you really can't get out.
Right.
And I think I found that. I mean, like how she said, for those of you that do know, let us know why, because I've never understood that.
And the judge really let her have it. She pretty much told her, like, all the evidence that was presented made me believe that you were being thoughtful and careful about hiding all this stuff. It didn't seem like there was a mental health issue with you enough to like do this without really knowing right from wrong. And he told her, you took away any future days that Gannon had with his parents. Now they can't watch him get married. They can't watch him graduate high school. They will never know what his future was going to be like because you took that away from them.
Mm-hmm. I did see that, and it's always so sad, and especially when the family gives an impact statement. And so I know that Al gave an impact statement, and that was, really sad because, his son is gone, and it took like more than 3 years for them to actually get a verdict and a sentencing. And so that, I know that they were suffering through all these years.
When you think about it, how long it takes for a trial to take place, for someone to get sentenced, it's a really long time. So the families are reliving the trauma all through that. They have to see all the evidence. They have to hear about everything again over and over and over. I'm sure the media isn't even really helping either, just because they hear about it so much.
I'm sure that you kind of try to not remember that trauma every single day, but it makes it worse when there's all these reporters talking about it every single day. So Gannon's father, Al Stauch, I don't know if it was during the impact statement or if it was after the verdict, but he actually said that he wanted Letecia to remove his last name because everybody would refer to her as like Mrs. Stauch or Letecia Stauch.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, I would probably ask for the same thing. I don't blame him at all whatsoever.
Good for him because she ruined their lives pretty much.
And now it's going to be sad too for Leticia's daughter because she doesn't have her dad. She now doesn't have her mom. Her mom is in jail now. So imagine growing up with that trauma of like your mom being a child murderer, and now you can't grow up with that motherly figure that should have been your protector, should have been the person who took care of you, gave you advice and all that. But this woman ended up doing it all wrong. And now she doesn't have that. I'm actually happy that she was found guilty and that she's sentences for 2 lives, this one and another one. It's just sad that Gannon's never gonna come back because of what this woman did to him, but justice was served.
I'm so glad that they found her guilty because I know she was trying to get away with it with her little psychotic episode or whatever she had.
And that's what caused her to murder a child and cover it up. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and watching the Letecia videos that we've made. We really appreciate everybody who's liked our videos, subscribed, made comments. Everybody's been so nice in the comments. We really appreciate the feedback that everybody's given us.
We're going to be keeping up with more trials. And if you haven't seen our whole series about Letecia, tune into our other videos.
And if you have cases that you want us to talk about, let us know. If you have any questions about anything, comments, concerns,
let us know that too in the comments below. So like, subscribe, comment down below, and hit the notification bell to get a notification every time we post a video.
All right, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.